Welcome to another Fall of the Empire. We're gonna delve a little bit into policies, the complicated shit. But I'm gonna try to keep it layman. I'm gonna try to go layman, cause I am a layman. That's the only way I understand things. Yo, tell me that beat's not sick, bro. All right, let's go. Let's go with my main man, my homeboy. I be hitting him up sometimes. We be talking and shit. I'ma get him here. I'ma get him eventually on here. But he be busy. He be busy. You know what I'm saying? My boy Thomas Sowell. Maybe I get him on the phone later. This is him versus some Karen from the '60s, some white liberal lady.
So that when you talk about women being able to take care of things,
Let me tell you guys something. You want to trace like 90% of all the bad ideas that have ever been put to practice in America, you're going to find two people behind them. College professors and white women. And I'm talking about after the Civil War. Starting in the 60s, bro. Every wrong decision starting in this era was done by women and by college professors. And I'll challenge anyone on that. I mean, you are not going to like that debate. You're going to be trapped. It's too much. It's too much. All right. Now let's go. Let's put on this raw little beat and let's get it going.
the fact that there are approximately 15% of all homes in which there is only one wage earner. So that when you talk about women being able to take...
Let's go. Let's start it again.
I'm sure you're aware of the fact that there are approximately 15% of all homes in which there is only one wage earner. So that when you talk about women being able to take care of things for their married mate wage earner, the fact is that in the overwhelming majority of American homes, the women also work. And therefore, I don't think your explanation that women have other responsibilities and that's why they are...
Work can mean part-time work or full-time work. Women do not work full-time to the same extent that men. Part-time workers make less than full-time workers.
May I ask a question about unemployment? The latest figures I saw indicated that of black youth...
So this woman debate has been going on since the 60s, since the late 50s, really. And sane people like Dr. Thomas Sowell and Milton Friedman, and just people that don't have their head out there, has kept telling you guys. And when you guys, I mean people that just don't get into their fucking head. If women are making less money than guys, it's because women have constraints that guys just don't have, especially back in those days. You know? Now women, more in 2020, are getting loose of those constraints. God help them. Let's keep going.
Something like 46% of those who wanted jobs were unable to get jobs. I really would like this time to ask both of you to respond to what would you do in that situation. If you would assume for a moment that these are people who do want jobs and are unable to find work.
I would, first of all, repeal the minimum wage law, because if you go back to, let's say, 1950, 1948, 49, 50, you find that at that time, the unemployment rate among black teenagers was a fraction of what it is today. And there certainly wasn't any less racism then than there is today. What was different was that at that time, the minimum wage law was a decade old. It was a decade of inflation, and the law hadn't been changed. So for all practical purposes, it didn't exist.
Well, don't you think that was also a decade of expansion, in which there were a lot of jobs, whereas today our economy is in a recession and there are not that many jobs
If you look
available.
at the most prosperous years of the 60s and 70s, you don't find black teenage unemployment as low as it was in the recession year of 1949.
Well, I don't know what the job situation was then, but it's only recently that we have
I do. I was a
point.
black teenager in 1949.
Did you
it was
get
a
a job?
recession year, and after a considerable looking, I found a job. But the point is, the kid who was living where I lived then, who's living there now, he has a hell of a lot harder time finding that job, because there are so many good people who have tried to do good for him and priced him right out of the market.
Well, facing the situation as it presently exists, what would you do for that 46%?
If the situation is going to remain as it presently exists, the results will remain as it
I'm
presently
saying
exists.
now, today, what would you do to help
I would
this
repeal
46%?
those things which
But
is
that isn't going to
demonstrably...
help these 46%, is it?
Nothing
Something has
do you
to be
want
done
do,
about
do you
it.
want to change it or you want to leave it the same? If you want to leave it the same, everything will continue the same. If you want to change it, it'll change.
No, I think that your suggestions of change contemplate that in the future the situation will be different. But I'm asking you about the 46% of black youths who are now unemployed, who probably would not be affected by changing the law this year.
You can say that all you want, but the evidence is totally against you.
So, what they're going on about is a minimum wage law and how it affects black youth and just minority boys basically. Um, and yeah, I also happen to be a black youth, you would say, or a minority youth, and especially also our dads. You know, um, also with our dads, we need the minimum wage not to be there because this is what happens, right? There's reasons why I'm right now not in jail or deported.
He holds degrees from
There's
Columbia and
reasons
the
why I was able to keep jobs and I was able to do better than a lot of my counterparts. A lot of those things had to do with I always worked. I'm a worker. My first job in America was bagging groceries, and at 13 I was distributing newspapers, doing all sorts of stuff, right? But do you think these people were paying me minimum wage? I was making $100 a day. I was making $100 when I was 11. That was a lot of fucking money too, on a Saturday, right? They would not even pay us. We would just be there bagging, and I would make that in quarters. I would go home with like a bag of quarters. You know what I'm saying? Maybe a couple of bucks. If I got lucky, $20 sometimes. You know what I'm trying to tell you? After that, I started working again on commission. We didn't get paid anything an hour. And I just kept working job after job after job after job, doing little shit, doing little bullshit, right? With the way the minimum law is now, I wouldn't have been able to work. Or if it's applied, if it's really applied to a point where you cannot get a job unless you're getting paid a minimum wage, what do you think that leaves a 15-year-old kid with no experience? He's not gonna get hired because the employer, if he's gotta pay you top dollar, he's not gonna hire the 18-year-old. He's gonna hire the 25-year-old. He's not gonna hire the 6-year-old. He's gonna have to hire the 21-year-old. He's gonna be stringent with his choice because now you're making him pay top dollar for that choice. And what does that do to the kids that could have been working for $2 an hour, $3 an hour, working on commission? Now they don't have a job. Now there's no character building. Now we have a whole bunch of young men without work, just with free time on their hands. And that's never ever a good thing. For the empire, Dr. Thomas Sowell.